Arkansas simply doesn't make enough free throws, but does most other things right as they fall to Alabama at Tuscaloosa by a score of 86-83. This is Arkansas basketball recap. I'm Daniel Price. That's Jacob Price. Oh, man. This one was a tough one. I mean, the first half looked amazing. They looked great. Anthony Black got in foul trouble, which hurt. Second half, Alabama went on a run that we didn't really recover from. We kind of played even after that run. They went on a 14-0 run because I think we were up 9 at the half. Got down by as many as 12, I believe. Ended up losing by 3 with a shot, not a good shot, but a shot to tie it up at the end. Arkansas played really well down the stretch, like the last 2 minutes, trying to make it a game. The story of this game, to me, anyway, besides Anthony Black not being able to play very many minutes because he was in foul trouble and then fouled out, really was this story right here. Let's look at this. Alabama was 25 of 30 from the free throw line. Arkansas was 20 of 29. That's why you lost. To me, I mean, there's lots of other things you can be like, oh, this thing, that thing. Brandon Miller got loose a little bit, but he's best player in the conference. I don't know. I mean, Devo did kind of the similar thing he did last game. He locked him up the first half, but that dude's not going to be locked up for 2 halves. It's not a lack of effort from Devo. I don't think anyone else is going to do any better. There was just, we missed some free throws in some times that could have really changed the game. And some of those were front end of 1-and-1s where you actually, that free throw doesn't even appear. Like you missed the front one, you don't get the second one. I just think on the road to win that game, you got to shoot well from the free throw line. And we didn't shoot well enough and we lost. The good news is that they looked pretty good. Nick Smith, second game in a row where he's looked pretty good. And this loss, because it was so close, not only does it not hurt you, but it might actually even help you. Arkansas might be in a better position today than it was yesterday for the selection committee because of how close this game was on the road. This loss doesn't hurt. This loss doesn't hurt you. Doesn't drop your net ranking or anything like that. But it was close enough that actually, if they're considering things, it might actually help you a little bit. Now, it helps you a ton if you win it, but all in all, this wasn't like a killer.
Yeah, I don't think I'd agree with it that it helps. I mean, obviously it doesn't hurt real bad because it's a number 2 team in the country at home. No one expects you to win.
It helps
But
more than if we lost by 20, that hurts us way more.
yeah, but like I mean, South Carolina played them as good as we did. So like you don't get a lot of credit for not getting your asses kicked by a team. You know what I
No,
mean? Like
I think it has more to do with it being they haven't lost at home. You go to South Carolina and play a close one with South Carolina. This is a little bit different. I think if this game was at Arkansas, it's different. I just mean because it's a road loss, the number 2 team in the country hadn't lost at home all year. You played them within 3. It's as good a loss as you can have, I guess is what you say.
yeah, like I said, I don't think it hurts you, but I don't think it helps you. I mean, like I said, there's lots of examples of teams that have no business being in games and
Yeah.
having. I mean, this happens all the time where like a better team plays down because they think they're at home and they're
Well,
better,
do you
and then
think do
and
you
then
think this part helps you for the selection committee? Because I would have thought no, but I've heard some people say nationally that it does. That Nick Smith coming back, if he looks good, actually does help you because they actually will look at that. And I gotta tell you, man, based on the last 2 games, I do think our record might be a little bit different if he even played the whole year.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I do think that matters. Unfortunately, like I think I would probably like to live in a world where the selection committee just has some sort of really mathematical algorithm where who the players on your team and how many NBA players are on your team and what the name on your jersey doesn't matter, and it just
Mm-hmm.
like blindly picks the teams that are statistically the best. But everybody knows that's not the case, and I said this all year. You can tell like they want us in there based on Musselman's reputation the last couple of years. And, there is a little bit of like this teams, you have all of the pundits and journalists and sports commentators bigging up a team like Arkansas early in the season. And it does matter, like because it gives you a partially deserved, but also a veneer of, oh well, they're better than this record. They've had some
Mhm.
troubles, and like they're definitely looking at us that way, and there's truth to that. But like I said, I mean, obviously, if I'm a team that's on the outside of the bubble that has a slightly better record or something, I would definitely be like,
Yeah.
upset about it because we've been in that position before where it's like you see teams get in and it's like, well, it's because it's Duke or it's because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
Kentucky, even though like, you're like, um, but yeah, as far as this game goes, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. The free throws are not the only reason they lost. It's just the most uh frustrating and easy to fix. Like you're like, hey, make your free throws and you win that
During
game.
that run, so we missed some free throws. Do we miss some? I'm not gonna say they're bunnies. Like they were contested. They were tough shots at the rim, but we missed like five of them during the course of that run where we could have kind of poured some water on that run and just didn't. And did some got a couple of charges driving to the basket trying to dish off things like that. We just didn't like we couldn't, and it's just one of those things, man. We just couldn't get anything to stop that run. What offensive rebound, go back up with it, push it. Walsh did it. We just couldn't get the ball to drop, and we
Honestly,
really needed it to.
that game is indicative of what we've been saying all season. This season, we've had trouble finding the magic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We've had it. We had it when we beat Kentucky at home, and really, other than that game, we really not. I mean, we played well the last two games, but they were both teams we should have beat. We haven't actually had like, I mean, a little bit. Well, I don't know. Even the Maui tournament, like it worked out okay, but it wasn't like, I mean, we lost to Creighton, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we haven't had things go our way very much this season, and this was one of those games. I mean, the reason I feel like it's so frustrating to lose this game is because Alabama's very good. And there's a version where Alabama comes out and they score 100 points, and those guys are just knocking down threes. And it's like, what are you going to do? That's a freaking good team. That's not how this game worked out. This game was well within your grasp as far as how well Alabama played. And like we lost that game because we played poorly in the second half, not because Alabama came out and played amazing. They played
We
okay.
played poorly for like we played really poorly for about 10 minutes in the second half, and that cost you the front half of the second half. We just couldn't score offensively. We could not put it together, and that's why we
and
lost the game.
and even when they started to play them even, we didn't play great. We
No,
played okay.
we
Like,
didn't play great to the last 2 minutes. Then we looked great again.
yeah, and even then, like I said, I mean, I know that happened today a couple of times, but like if you're trying to foul and win a game when you're down by 6 with a minute and 15 seconds left, you're begging. You know what I mean? Like you're basically praying to the. You have to do it, obviously, but like, and sometimes it works out. Like I said, there's two games today where the team that was down did that and ended up coming back and winning. But like you almost, it's not that you don't deserve to win the game, but it's like you at this point the game is out of hand. Now you're doing some Hail Marys and praying to the basketball gods to have favor on you and that they'll miss free throws and you'll hit hard threes or make and
It
ones.
was wild that down the stretch. I mean, they fought, dude. I don't know. Like I was really happy with the way that they fought. They did not just they could have just let go of the rope and they didn't. Devo making a tough and one, Council making a tough and one, Nick Smith step back, dropping that three. I mean, those are all big. Devo's shot was tough. That's a tough shot to make because you're getting fouled. Council's getting had that's a tough finish.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge shot by Nick Smith. The trap, with Walsh and the steal by Nick Smith for the dunk. They did like all the things you need to kind of do offensively to make something like that work. It would have been better if Alabama would have helped by missing a couple more free throws and not shooting so well from the free throw line. But
I feel
uh,
like they should have fouled a different guy
yeah, they did that. Yeah, Sears is tough. I mean,
because there's a way to play that on those inbounds. Like I said, I agree with you. They did what they needed to on offense in that last minute to score a few and ones
And it
and
wasn't
make a three.
and it wasn't easy stuff to do.
Yeah, but on the other side, I didn't understand why they were letting them inbound the ball to that guy, because there's a way to play defense where you're like,
I just think
I'm
they
gonna
couldn't stay.
foul.
I just think they couldn't stay in front of him. Like they
Well,
just get
then foul him.
yeah.
Then just foul him. I
You
mean,
can't.
you don't
Well,
have
you can't get the intentional foul before the ball is impounded or you get
no,
teed up.
but you can arm fight with him in a way that
Yeah,
he can't get away from you.
yeah,
Like it doesn't have to be an intentional foul. You can grab onto his hip and not let him get away from you in a way that is like so aggressive. I mean, what and I understand what we were trying to do. We were trying to see if you could get a steal. You're trying
yeah,
to get the steal. But in my mind, I would have said, I'm not if I can't if I'm not gonna I'm gonna go for the steal, everyone except for Devo. Devo, you're guarding that guy, don't let him have the ball, even if it
hmm
means we foul. And I mean, at least after like the third time.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, and you see the second they fouled somebody else, like
yeah.
that guy was in a rhythm. You know what I mean? And so I didn't like that. But no, I mean, I thought I there was a couple of things I would criticize about in the second half when they came out and Miller obviously that's the guy's name, right? Their
Yeah,
best player. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean the he came out obviously with the intention to not be held down, and he went to the basket and made a couple of big shots, got the crowd into it. But Nick Smith went right down and answered both of them, one with a
hmm
two, one with a three. And then if you notice, they kept going down and answering Nick Smith. Nick Smith did not get another shot for like 6 minutes.
hmm
And I don't understand why. I mean, some of the times it wasn't like he would drive and then he'd pass it, but I don't understand that guy. I mean, he was hot, and I'm a pure believer in like if Nick Smith doesn't make that shot, let it whoever take it, council,
yeah,
whoever.
yeah,
The dude just made back to back shots. Get the guy some looks, and I hated that like they were building like the council took a few. And honestly, Anthony Black. I mean, we've been bigging him up for the last 5 weeks. He played his worst game in a long time.
yeah,
Part of it was that he wasn't on the thing, but even when he was on there, he
hmm
had trouble staying in front of people on defense.
yeah,
He took bad defensive angles with his hips. We all did. That second half, that to me, that was the most frustrating thing, and the thing that I absolutely do not understand what we were doing on defense. We were guarding those guys to the to the
yeah,
wrong side of their drip, like make them drive to the paint, not at the block. You know what I mean? Like we were
yeah,
letting those
yeah.
guys drive
I mean,
to their
they're trying to take away the three, which we did take. They didn't make a lot of threes, and so that was successful. And they're trying to take away like that kind of sidestep, how you get open and you get to your right hand. They're trying to take that away, and it opens you up to a dribble drive in a way that we Alabama, we might be able to do that with a lot of teams, but Alabama is so athletic that I don't know if we have the recovery to do that. If you can, I don't know if you can shade it that direction so you can take away, that sidestep three or the step back three or whatever.
maybe. I mean, but I felt like even when they weren't screened, sometimes like they were just had their hips turning the guy
no, that's what I mean. I mean, there's
not to the
guarding.
paint. They were turning him to the angle you would like to drive at if you're trying to score. And in the first half, they didn't.
They were shading the shooting hand because they didn't want to give up outside shots. And that was whether it was screens or not. And like I said, that does work if you're guarding somebody that you can recover enough from that you're not worried about them blowing by you. I mean, I just think Alabama is probably just a little bit too athletic to do that.
Maybe, but they did. They did manage to do it in the first half. And what I'm saying is, if you send, I don't care, but even about the shooting hand, if you send the guy to the middle to the paint,
Yeah.
it's just a much harder. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a much harder angle to make shots from, and he made some. I mean, he went in there and he got stopped from like 7 feet a couple of times in the first half, and he flipped up and the ball bounced around and they made a tough shot. And you see Graham do that sometimes. They force Graham to the middle of the paint and he makes a little hard flip hook. I will take a guy making a seven
Yeah.
to 8 foot hard flip up shot in the paint where it's like there's no real good angle from the backboard. You're kind of trying to shoot a push floater shot versus a layup drill where the guy gets you on his back shoulder and it's just like
Yeah.
laying it in.
Yeah.
And by the way, they didn't do a good job of that either. I mean, both teams, it was weird. I was like, why are these everybody can just drive all the way from the angle and
Yeah.
just lay it up. But unfortunately, we, like you said, whiffed a few of those, and those ones don't. I mean, they're frustrating if when you're trying to win, but it's like that's nobody's fault. They just missed some kind of hard,
Yeah.
well defended angled shots that they probably you were like, well, they got close enough. They should have made that, and
Well,
Alabama made
there
those.
are shots that you got to make, like, that if you're going to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, but
And you could see it when they would miss those. You like that's the kind of shot you have to make to win a game like this. That's how it was at the free throw line. We didn't shoot like horrendous from the free throw line, but 20 of 29. It's 60 something percent. It's not. That's not good. But it's definitely not good enough to beat Alabama. Like you have to. Those are the things
on
you
the
got to.
road, yeah.
Yeah, you got to do those things better. Uh, if you're gonna win the game. Going into the personal stuff, like I thought Debo played pretty well tonight. I know he had like the worst defensive assignment, and I thought he played really hard. And I thought when we were struggling that he decided he was going to create some offense and did. I thought offensively, I thought his shot selection was really good. He took good shots, played under control. So I like Debo, and it's weird. Like it's a bummer of a loss. You wish that somebody other than Council, like you wish you could have got the ball into Nick Smith's hands at the end
Or
there.
yeah, or even like make one push, like I mean, that's the bummer about that Devo um and one where he got hit in the groin is that did take away that foul. And I mean, that was a little bit of a gamble on Musselman's part. Uh I actually think I might have almost gambled on because I mean, there's no right or wrong, but a part of me was as that was happening, I was like, man, I almost wish they'd let them pick the guy because a missed free throw at that point was a bummer, but it wasn't the end of the world because you have a chance at aggressively going after the rebound. And if you get the rebound, you're actually in a better situation. And the
Yeah,
ball's going to stop immediately because you're going to foul somebody.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? So, and if you'd had a timeout there, you kind of think maybe you could have put something together where Musselman's got some plays for that. You know what I mean? Where you get Pinion, where you get the ball to Council, and then he just kicks it up to Pinion, and there's a screen going on in the backcourt, or to Nick Smith.
yeah.
And
What you really just needed even was just in that situation because a team doesn't want to foul, and the
mm-hmm.
worst thing to do is foul if a guy's on a three. You just needed a play to spring Nick Smith and get him the ball, and then just let him try to make shake a dude and pull up, and the guy's not going to foul him, so he's going to be able to probably get the shot off. But I just not. I mean, they just didn't have a play. I mean, there was nothing Council could do. They had him on the sideline, and he just had to. You don't want to throw the ball away and get a turnover. There's not enough time.
Yeah,
It's not his fault. It's just you wish it would have worked out differently.
it was a relatively ugly inbound though. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because Nick Smith, and it's because I'm sure it's. I mean, it's not his fault. I'm sure it's because, like I said, they didn't have a timeout, so they didn't get to talk about it. But he he tried to catch the ball like I guess he was going to try to go down the court, but he was just moving towards the corner in the wrong direction. With 7 seconds, that could have been probably Council coming. Nick Smith probably should have started, you know, on the opposite sideline, and Council should have come through and set him a screen, and he should have just ran right in front of the ball and had him just scoop it to him. And if the guy's playing him too tight, you get fouled. That's not great, but like,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do it again. But the way that both of those guys were moving, neither one of them got caught the ball in motion, which is obviously what you want. And there was no screen action or
yeah,
anything. And
yeah,
it was just basically like somebody get the
yeah.
ball inbound, and it just didn't work out amazing. Um, but I
How
would
did
have
you
liked
how
to.
did you feel? How did you feel Nick Smith played? I mean, I felt like this is 2 games in a row where he's starting to look a little as advertised.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I mean, I hate to say this, but they played 10 points better than Alabama with Anthony Black on the bench, and I mean, and this really hurt Anthony Black's plus minus because
Yeah.
when he was on the bench, they were plus 10 or
Yeah,
11,
but
and when he
but every game's different. I mean, that's not true for not most of the games you're going to play, obviously, but it might have been true tonight.
yeah, I'm not saying I know why exactly, but Anthony Black didn't help the team tonight. Like
Yeah,
He wasn't great on defense. I mean, he wasn't bad, and I mean, he had moments, but a lot of all the shots he took were very. I mean, he made actually a really tough like side shot where he almost got fouled, and like it was like a double pump thing, but like he didn't hardly take a good shot tonight. He took weird, hard, difficult shots that I mean,
Dude, you know
maybe
what, dude,
sometimes.
you know what I need to see more of? Like Nick Smith coming around that screen, elbow jumper, because that shot from his that looks good every time he shoots it.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not saying that like you don't, I mean, obviously if Anthony Black's available, you put him out there all the time. It's just for whatever reason, whether it be that foul trouble and that sitting got him, out of rhythm or, you know what I mean, where he just cold and then he went back in and he picked up some fouls and he just couldn't get it going and couldn't get the flow going tonight. Or I don't know if maybe that's a weird matchup for him or something.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, like I said, his plus minus was like 20 points when he was on the floor tonight. And I actually would have liked to have seen Graham in the game in the second half earlier. I would
Mm-hmm.
when we were struggling to score and that was starting to pile up on us. Um, I was saying to my wife, I was like, why doesn't he put Graham in there? Because we were needing offense. And I,
Run some pick and roll with Nick Smith and Jalen Graham.
I do think that that is a way to not that I want to live and die on that, but like I do think it tends to be a spark generally to the offense to have Graham in there. Um, to just as an offensive, he just tends to energize the offense and get the spacing better.
Mm-hmm.
I just like it sometimes when your offense is. I don't want, like I said, there's versions of that where he's out
You know
and
what
they
else?
play
You know what
great.
else happened? I'm not saying you do this. I mean, I know. I'm sure Pinion would have had a hard time guarding those guys. But dude, you notice like when they had Nick Smith and Joseph Pinion in the game at the same time. And I'm just saying this when you're just struggling completely on offense and you just need to do something. Dude, that lane opened up. Like it was. That's when we started just being like, hey, we're just gonna go one-on-one drives because those guys couldn't help,
Mm-hmm.
and that you
Yeah.
saw it happen. They were not going to help off. You're like, I don't know, man. Can you do that for 2 minutes? You know, like before the end of the game, and maybe it helps you loosen some. You just get some buckets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
But it is.
it's
It is
it,
what it is.
yeah, in a way, I mean, not that really, but like I do feel like I almost would have rather have lost with Alabama playing really well, like just burying you with threes or something.
I mean, they scored. I mean, 86 points. When they played, they didn't play bad.
Yeah, but what I mean is they were making layups.
Yeah,
And some of them weren't even that hard of layups. And on that run, we just lost our minds on a few defensive plays. I mean, they threw the ball from out of bounds all the way down court to
yeah,
their best player for a dunk. Like that's
yeah,
just an absolute defensive lapse. And then on an inbound play, we defended an inbound play. I mean, I know that, okay, Miller, he set a hard screen. Oh, you mean a screen on an inbound play under the basket? Like we've never seen that before. Like that was a kind of play that you get mad at your fifth grade daughter's team for letting
yeah,
a guy come around a screen and just right in the paint, a point guard catch the ball and lay it in. I mean, there was a couple of plays uh, that it wasn't because Alabama was so good. Like we played poorly at that moment. And I mean, like I said, that's going to happen. And Alabama is good, but I don't feel like that game we didn't. If they scored 100 and they hit a bunch of threes and they
yeah,
made a bunch of tough leaning jump shots, you got to take your hat off to them. If you let them score, layups over and over again, and then make bad inbounds plays and like lose guys on defense, it's just like that's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, you still have to take your hat off, but you got to more like pick yourself. You know what I mean? Because there are ways to lose where you're like, there's just no way we could have won that game. That team's just better than us. And that wasn't what happened tonight. Tonight it was like
See, I think that's
teams.
encouraging. I think that I don't think Alabama's a team that we can't beat.
Yeah, I agree.
Which
But
and
that that
I but
for
I also think but then you look at their record and you look at the resume, you look at who Alabama has beaten. And that's encouraging because what that means is like I mean you can hang. It means you can hang with most people. Like and we could
we,
have played
we
better.
we've said that all year though. Like, I mean, look at the number two team in the country has what, 9 losses?
No, I don't think they
Isn't
have
that
not. I don't think they have what Alabama?
no? How many losses they have?
Uh
7.
no. Let's see. Alabama's 24-4.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what I was looking at.
They're
Um,
14-1 in conference.
Yeah, I know they only lost one in conference. Who'd they
Yeah.
lose to?
Uh,
Wasn't it like
their one conference loss. I believe it
hmm,
was. I believe they lost to Texas A&M, or didn't they? Or was it to Tennessee? I'll tell you. Hold on. They lost to Tennessee at Tennessee. That's who they lost to. Who we
that's not a
got
bad loss.
coming up.
I mean, I do think Tennessee is not as, I mean, obviously everybody does, but like, I do think Tennessee is more beatable than Alabama. But like I said, all my whole thing, I was
Tennessee
frustrated that
Tennessee doesn't have the offensive firepower that Alabama has.
Alabama played the game that they brought today, we could have beat. I
Yeah.
guess is what I'm saying. There's a version of Alabama's play that our team can't beat. And it's when they're just like raining threes
Mm-hmm.
and they're just when they've got
I think part of the reason that didn't happen is I don't think we let them do that. I just don't think we let them get a lot of great outside looks.
yeah, that's true. They did miss several that
They
they could have
missed, they
made
missed,
there.
but they was a. I mean, they missed some hand up, like I mean, guys are going to shoot threes. The question is like, how clean is the look? And I thought our perimeter defense was pretty good. There's some guys
Yeah.
like, I mean, you pull up and you think you're like, oh, this is an open look, and then Jordan Walsh like unbuckles his second elbow and jumps out at you, and you're like, that's not as good. I mean, and then you clank it, that's how that goes. And I thought they did a pretty good job at that stuff. I mean, shoot, there's one three that I think it was the first three they made of the game where a guy that doesn't even shoot threes that well made it, and it was great defense. I mean, like Jordan Walsh was like right in his face, clapping his hands. Like, I mean, I thought he was about to touch the ball, and you're like, this good D, just just made the
Is
shot.
I'm
We
trying to
shot
think about
we shot 50%. You know what I liked about this game? I'll tell you a positive. We were 5 of 10 from the 3-point line. Here's why that's good. We made 50% of our threes. Of course, that's good. We only shot 10 in a game where we were trying to come back. I thought that showed a lot of discipline. Like we weren't gonna do that. And I like that, man. I mean, Council was 0 for 1, but that one is, I mean, really we were 5 and 9 because that last one, the Council shot is like, I mean, you just had to throw it up.
uh
But Davis was 3 of 4, dude. Nick Smith was 2 of 3. Um, Jordan Walsh was 0 for 1. Anthony Black was 0 for 1. But Devo, dude, like if he gets his feet set, man, that
he
ball's.
should I wish he would have shot that one.
I don't. Why didn't he shoot that one, man? That was feet set, top of the key. Just knock that down, dude.
Hmm. Yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of being redundant here, but I'm like literally thinking that I mean, we just watched the game, but it felt like, and there's nothing you can do about this. It's not like Musselman doesn't play Anthony Black or something, but didn't I think what I was feeling and sensing, and tell me if you agree, it felt like what happened in the previous
Well, I
with
could tell you,
like
I could tell you, I could tell you what the difference, the
well,
difference
hold
was.
on, hold on, you don't know what I'm going to say yet. But the last 7 quarters before this game, we talked about in the last two podcasts, where it seemed like they figured something out, and it was that Nick Smith was playing better, and Anthony Graham, and Graham was in there, and he was helping loosen up that offense. And it felt like Black was able to just be a lot looser, to not to have to just like, okay, I just have to drive and score every time and just get beat
Mm-hmm.
up. He was able to be more of a point guard, and he's a ridiculous point guard as far as his size and stuff. And it just felt like had total control.
Mm-hmm.
He was probing, and then if he could kick it out to Nick Smith as a safety valve, or try to get it to Graham at the high post, and he was just really falling into that point guard spot of probing. And it felt like because when he came out of this game, it felt like he got out of the rhythm of the game. He got out of the speed of the game, and it felt like Nick Smith and some of those other guys early in that half had the feel of the game, had the speed of the game. They like, I don't know, they just were familiar with what was happening. And then it felt like Anthony Black came out there and tried to like play that role again, where they were trying to give him the ball, let him be the point guard, and it felt like he was out of sorts. And it kind of
Yeah.
that
No,
for that time when they went on that run, it just kind of sucked the like rhythm of the team out of the game.
that's
And
just. I think it's just a guy that got in foul trouble. Didn't and like I think it is exactly what you're saying. In some games, you just flush. I don't think that there's actually a lot to analyze there, other than just like
it
that one.
sucks to get
What
in foul trouble early.
Yeah, it
Like
sucks
that's
to get in foul
basically.
trouble early, and it wasn't your night, man. Like it wasn't a good night for you. Like he'd come back and be the best player on the floor against Tennessee. Just wasn't his night, and that happens
Well,
sometimes. But I would say the thing that is different is also that you know when Anthony Black wasn't in there, Devo didn't play point guard. Nick Smith did,
mhm.
and so when Anthony Black wasn't out there, the ball was in Nick Smith's hands a ton, which was worked out pretty good because in that first half, like the ball in Nick Smith's hands coming down the court was not a bad idea. And if you're going to do anything, what might have made sense was to, Anthony Black can play off the ball, is to maybe just say, you know what, that's working. We're just going to have Nick play point guard until it don't work.
Yeah, hindsight. I mean, but like I said, obviously, you know, in your head, you're thinking at the time, because like hindsight, you go, well, maybe since you do have more subs now, and you know, you can always go to Anthony. I mean, you can always go to Nick Smith as your point guard, or bring in Graham, and so you have more subs. It feels like maybe stick Black back in there with, you know, in the first half and tell him just try not to let him pick up that foul, but don't not so he's not so cold the whole. I mean, not doesn't isn't sitting for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? So, but like that
Or
doesn't really
maybe,
make sense. You're like,
or if you don't, and you just start him the second half, maybe you start him and you say, hey, um, we were better defensively when Anthony Black's on the floor. We're a better rebounding team when Anthony Black's on the floor. Like we know this.
mhm,
Um, but it was working when he was on the bench, and I think what was working is not that Anthony Black sucks and he was he was on the bench, so therefore we were good. I think what was working was Nick Smith had the ball in his hands a ton and was playing because he was having to play point guard. And I think maybe you just continue that, and so when you roll out the starting lineup, you can roll out the exact same lineup you did, but you just say, hey, Nick's going to play point. Nick's going to bring the ball down.
and like I said, that's not really a criticism because what I'm saying is obviously, like I said, it's hindsight, but you at the time you're like, I'm not putting Anthony Black in there and had him pick up a third foul. We're up by 10. Why would I do that? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then even in the second half, when you put him in there, you don't think, well, I'll know I won't have him play point guard like he has the last. You know, it doesn't make any sense until
Yeah.
you see it not work, and you don't know that he's going to be kind of out of rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, all of that is hindsight. It's not like you would have actually done that in the moment. The one thing I do think I would have done in the moment, because I was yelling at my television, was I do think when they started to struggle and Alabama
Mm-hmm.
started to make that push, I would have, and maybe he was, I mean, I don't know, but I would have been screaming to get Nick Smith some looks or calling out whatever plays we need that have Nick Smith getting
Mm-hmm.
looks because he had it going in those first couple of minutes. And then it basically like threw cold water on him by not getting in the
Yeah.
ball enough. And I would have probably stuck Graham in there earlier. I mean,
Yeah,
Graham didn't.
I thought I was kind of wondering like, hey, when we're going to see Graham, maybe that gives you a little punch. Okay, wrapping this up because I got to run. Who's your player of the game?
I don't know. I guess
Nick Smith,
Nick
24.
Smith.
Nick Smith had 24 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 1 assist. By the way, I've been really impressed with Nick Smith's rebounding.
Yeah,
I mean, he comes flying in. Like, I like that rebounding from him. Other candidate, I think, only other candidate would be Devo Davis, 21 points, 5 rebounds. You know,
and just a brutal defensive assignment.
yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, to score 21 points and have that defensive assignment is hard.
Hmm.
So
I do
anyway,
wish that I do. I mean, we
co
should.
players of the game, Nick
Yeah.
Smith, and Nick Smith should have been player of the game because he should have got. I mean, he did take the most shots by a long shot. I mean, he took a lot of shots. He was 9 of 23, but it's weird to say. I kind of think he should have took more shots.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe slightly different shots.
Yeah,
Maybe just try to get that one-on-one matchup and get that jump shot a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I do think that
I mean, Ricky Council also had 20 points. I mean, he was, and honestly, Ricky Council had 20 points. He was 5 of 9. And he took 9 shots in the game. He was 10 of 14 from the free throw line, though. That dude is good at getting fouled. The problem is, I mean, Ricky Council has 1 rebound. Like, I mean, I know you're a guard ish, wing, But Devo's got 5. Nick Smith's got 6. You gotta give me some boards, bud.
Well, and okay, so that is something, not to belabor this whole thing, but that was another way that they played bad. They in the second half, they gave
Mm.
them a bunch of offensive rebounds that turned into buckets,
Well,
and
he
some of
was.
them were like
We
and one
lost. I mean, that
buckets.
was part of the reason we lost. We lost because we lost the free throw shooting battle. They made 5 more free throws than we did. We lost by 3. We also lost the rebounding battle, 37-48. So we got out rebounded by 11. And if you can cut that in
Does it
half,
that statistical sheet doesn't have how many second chance points they got, does it? Like, because
no, I don't have
I don't know
second
how
chance.
many it was, but I guarantee it was more than the differential.
Yeah, we didn't get like killed on the. Alabama had 14 offensive rebounds. We had 13 offensive rebounds, so it wasn't like they had like a ton more offensive rebounds than we did. Um, theirs just seemed like they scored off them more though. Like they were more like just grab it, put back kind of things.
Well, in that second half, there was just a half a dozen that turned into crowd pumping up. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like they grabbed it, and I think one of them turned into an and one. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
They just they got some opportunistic
There
ones
was a
that
there,
really
there was a
helped
couple of
energize
like
that.
there was a couple of unfortunate things too, like a loose ball scramble that rolls out and then the guy's running out at it and the guy dished it to his guy that was cutting and it's just nobody's fault because that's what happens in a loose ball scramble. We didn't get a lot of those, they did. They got a couple. There's all kinds of things like that, but uh, anyway, we got Tennessee next. We're gonna the road trip continues. I do think this is based on what every pundit and every bracketology person is saying. Arkansas, they got it. They all they have to do is win one of the next 3. Now one of the next 2. You need to beat Tennessee or you need to beat Kentucky. Uh, I'd rather us just go ahead and try. It's going to be tough. You got to go to Tennessee and try to beat them, but you'd like to not go down the stretch. And by the way, that's to make them a lock. Like
Mhm.
so, like if Arkansas beats Tennessee or Kentucky, they are a lock. They are going dancing. If they don't, they're not out. You're just nervous, and maybe you're going to Dayton for a playing game or something like that. So
And some of it will probably depend on
you
your
start thinking like,
tournament.
do I need to win 2 games in the tournament and in the SEC tournament and stuff? Yeah. So like to get one of those, get that locked in.
And we're gonna what's our position right now in the SEC? Because we're not gonna be the best seed. We're gonna have tough games in the SEC because our
Yeah,
the SEC's weird with its like there's a lot of teams piled up there in the middle.
yeah, I believe right now. So 2, 4, 6. Right now we're in the 7 spot, I believe. Uh, but we also have like the hardest schedule at the last 3 games, so we'll see.
That's
So we're right
another
in the middle,
reason.
right in the middle. 14 teams, we're number 7. So
Mhm.
most people think the SEC is going to get 7 or 8 teams too, and so that's why they think we're in. So, all right, man. Would have been awesome. Would have been great. I was rooting for overtime.
Yeah.
So I would have liked our chances in overtime, even with guys fouling out and stuff.
I
But
will say I know I've been negative this thing, but like I mostly just because it disappoints me that that game was within our ability to win, and I think we didn't win it because of how we played, not because of how they played, and that's disappointing. But I will say Arkansas's Arkansas's offense is still looking well, just all of their play. Like they look significantly improved, and there's still hope for like I said, this team now looks more like a team that can make a run in
mhm.
the in March than they did
do you, do
three.
you do you think Nick Smith is a big part of that?
Yeah, I think Nick
Yeah.
Smith and just people slotting into roles that they're more comfortable in. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for coming back, Nick. Didn't have to. Appreciate it. I do think that we're better. It might be like a duh, but I don't know. Like he didn't play a lot. Who knows? But he looks
mhm.
good and looks healthy. And I think if we can go on a little run in March, he's going to be a big part of it. And so
Oh,
that'll be
and I
awesome.
think, I mean, you can just tell, like, I mean, just look at his points per game and stuff. I think he's going to continue to get better and better as he gets more familiar with the speed and the
Mm,
physicality, and the team is going to, you would think, only improve and gel more. Like I said, they're just figuring this chemistry out in real
mm.
time, and there's reason to believe that over the next 3 games and then in the SEC tournament, that if they continue to click, get the chemistry worked out, I mean, the hope is that even if they prove very slightly each game, uh,
They could be a
you could
10 seed.
really,
They could be a 10 seed that you really don't want to draw.
yeah, they could really be something in the tournament. So that's still
Yeah.
the hope. So
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I will see you. Let's see what date. I don't even know what day when we play in Tennessee. We are playing Tennessee on Tuesday, short week. So Tuesday night, going to Tennessee. We'll be here after the game.
all right,
All right,
see you,
man.
dude.
See ya.